Look guys, I snuck into my kids' little Christmas lolly stash. Found a crunchy bar. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. We are officially in the year 2022. That seems kind of weird to say, but then kind of awesome to say because we're out of the previous year. But today I wanted to do a video specifically kind of around fertility, trying to conceive, miscarriages, all of that, because that was pretty much my whole 2021. I wanted to go over recurrent miscarriage. I wanted to go over getting pregnant after miscarriages, and then talk about gender disappointment, because even though gender disappointment is kind of like a taboo, almost a shameful topic to talk about, to me it's really relevant. I wanted to touch on it and just get my heart out there. I always get a little bit nervous talking about these things because I feel like I tell people in real life, but people probably have questions on YouTube as well, because I'm putting a decent amount of this part of my life on YouTube. You guys probably want to know. So here I am, and I'm just going to spill it all and tell you guys what's been going on. So if you guys are interested, please stay tuned. Click that subscribe button. As far as I know, you can click that little bell and it will give you notifications every time I post a video, which isn't very often these days, but Mum is trying. So thank you guys so much for watching, and let's get into it. Okay, so of course a heart-to-heart wouldn't be complete without a cup of tea. So I have prepared myself some peppermint tea in my Mama Bear cup, and we are just gonna jump right into it. So first of all, heads up, I am not some crazy woman that keeps posting gender reveal videos, okay? My first gender reveal got a ton of views. I think it's almost up to like 200,000 views, and I wanted to really clarify that video, and I'm still debating whether I should take it down. It was a really cool idea for a gender reveal as well, I must admit. That was the first gender reveal, and then a few videos later I posted another gender reveal, and you guys are probably thinking, what's going on with Joe? What is the update? The update, my friends, is this. Can we see this? I'm kind of on cloud 9, stressed out cloud 9. But at the moment I am coming on 22 weeks pregnant with my first baby girl. What? I have 3 sons, and we are embarking on this journey with our 4th. And yeah, it feels amazing, but I've got so much stuff to unpack. Really sharing my heart. What I want to talk about is just the journey of getting here, because it has been heartache, it's been learning, it's been growing, and it's been pressing into community and God, because that's how I live my life. As a disclaimer, if that's not your beliefs, that is totally fine. You don't have to take in what I say about that, but that's my journey. It's been a lot of heartbreak, and I cannot help but include the Lord in that, so I'm going to tell you guys about that as well. So let's get started on the miscarriages, okay? So to backtrack, 2020, we are going back almost 2 years. So October, I'm pretty sure it was October of 2020, I fell pregnant, and this was my 4th baby. I never had any miscarriages before. It was amazing. I actually had no grid of losing a pregnancy, of losing a baby, because it never happened to me. I've had very straightforward labors, healthy births, like nothing has ever gone wrong in that area for me. It's been textbook, and my deliveries have been unmedicated, perfect. It didn't even cross my mind that something could be wrong. A little red flag did go up when I wasn't getting pregnancy symptoms, because when I was pregnant with all 3 of my boys, they hit me hard, and I was very nauseous to the point of being sick. Like, I felt pregnant. Another interesting thing was my pregnancy tests were not progressing and getting darker as they should have been. They were getting darker, but not to the level that I was used to. So I had a couple of questions around that, and then I just kind of like brushed it off. And so 11 weeks passed. You guys know my story, and if you don't, I'm going to leave it up here because it is all about that miscarriage. I had something called a blighted ovum, and essentially that is where your body is still producing all the HCG hormones, your uterus is growing, but no baby is growing inside of it. I think the embryo, whatever you want to call it at that stage, basically stops growing the minute that the egg is fertilized. Nothing happens. And so it was super devastating to get into what I thought was 11 weeks of pregnancy, to go for an ultrasound and find out that there was no baby. It was pretty earth-shattering to me because it had never happened, and I thought that I was having a baby girl based on this gender reveal, which is up here. Awesome idea for a gender reveal, which is probably a good reason to keep it up. Breathe and take a drink of my tea. So I miscarried in January of 2021, so at the beginning of last year. It took me a while to kind of grieve through that process. I was pretty heartbroken. I did a lot of worshipping. I did a lot of like soul searching, if you want to call it. I couldn't quite understand why it happened, and I couldn't quite understand why I felt like I was so close to a dream of mine, which has been having a baby girl. I've been dreaming of having a daughter since I had children, which is 8 years ago now. It's quite some time. And it just didn't happen, and I felt like that dream was just kind of torn away from me really abruptly, and it was hard to work through that. But I did, and I decided that we were going to try again. And so I kept doing what I was doing, and I was doing the gender swaying. If you guys are interested in that, you can ask me questions, because I did a lot of research on gender swaying, because I was determined to have control over the gender of this next baby, okay? So a couple of months passed, and I think we got into April, and I fell pregnant again, and it was great. I was really excited that I wasn't having issues falling pregnant. It was great, but the same thing was kind of happening. I was watching my pregnancy tests, and I remember sending them over a course of a few days to a friend, and they were not getting darker. I almost had this feeling inside of me from that phase that something wasn't quite right. And then on top of that, I wasn't getting the normal pregnancy symptoms that I was expecting as well. So I was basing a lot of my faith in this next pregnancy on how I was feeling and the darkness of those pregnancy tests. And for the first and second one, those were the two red flags for me that I was like, something is not right. Given I've been pregnant 3 times prior to those miscarriages, I know what it feels like and I know what to expect. But both times the same thing happened, and I kind of knew from the get-go that something was wrong again. So going from there, I got into maybe my 7th week of pregnancy, and I started spotting. Did I mention this video was TMI? Probably not, but if you guys are clicking on it because you're interested in the miscarriage part, you know it's going to be TMI, okay? There's no getting around that. That's how it is. I started spotting and panicking, because when you have one miscarriage, you just panic for the next pregnancy. And I got in touch with my midwife, and she told me to go to an urgent care place that specializes in maternity and all this kind of thing. So I tracked them down, I found them, and I was scheduled to go in for the night, and they kind of rejected my request, I suppose, which was kind of strange, because they pretty much said it's not an emergency, you're not bleeding, because I was only spotting at that point. You're not bleeding, nothing's wrong, we don't need to see you. I was almost like, no, I've had a previous miscarriage, I am spotting, I've never spotted in any of my pregnancies, something is wrong, I know it. Like, there was just that feeling in my heart and my gut from the get-go that something wasn't quite right. And then I just kind of left it. I prayed a bit more. I was, you know, hoping for the best. And a couple of nights later, I started bleeding. And that just set me on another spiral of anxiety and fear, and just trying to work through all of that, because it's the worst thing, just waiting to see what happens and waiting to see if it doesn't work out again. So I messaged the place again, and I said, listen, I am bleeding now, I need to come in so I can have an internal ultrasound. I've never had an internal, I've only ever had abdominal ultrasounds. So they let me come in. It was about 7 o'clock at night. It was about half an hour's drive as well. Busy traffic, it was a lot going on, and just a lot to work through mentally and emotionally. I got there. They didn't see me for another hour. I finally went into a room, took my pants off, and waited for another 45 minutes for somebody to come in and do paperwork. Pretty much asked me, how do you know you're pregnant? And I'm like, because I've taken like 30 tests, I'm pretty sure I'm pregnant. Like, everything just felt really unnecessary, and I was pretty frustrated at the whole thing, to be honest. But somebody finally came in and did an ultrasound with the screen turned against me, so I couldn't even see what was going on inside there. It was very quiet, it was very uncertain, very uncomfortable, and she basically said nothing the whole time. This whole thing was like 5 people. It was just so unlike New Zealand and so uncomfortable and just cold and really unsettling, because I felt like they were kind of talking down to me as if I just didn't know what I was talking about, even though I've had 3 other kids. Like, I know what it means to be pregnant, and it was just very frustrating. That's the only way I can describe it. And so she didn't tell me anything, and she said, I'll have so-and-so come in to tell you your results. I must have waited another half an hour for that person to come in. Oh my gosh, I think I was there for about 3.5 hours total, with a huge bill on top of that. Like, it was just, how many times the system just drives me nuts. She comes in and she tells me, you have abnormal and normal placenta cells, which indicates to us that you have a partial molar pregnancy. Over my head again. What the heck is that? Another kind of miscarriage that I'd never heard of before. I had heard of a molar pregnancy. A girlfriend of mine has had a molar pregnancy, but a partial molar pregnancy is basically where, if I can remember this correctly, and if I'm wrong, please comment in the comments down below, because I might get this wrong, but I'm pretty sure it's like when 2 sperm fertilize 1 egg. So you have the chromosomes from the egg, and then instead of having the regular amount of chromosomes from 1 sperm, you've got 2 sets of sperm chromosomes. So basically you've just got an influx of chromosomes, and there's too many for the baby to really develop properly. So it's beyond the baby even living, because there's just too much going on. I think a molar pregnancy is basically where a baby doesn't grow at all. And it's got something to do with the chromosomes as well, but I can't quite remember. But so essentially there was a baby in there at 7 weeks, but there was also a really jacked up placenta, meaning that the baby couldn't survive anyway. So there was no heartbeat that we could see. The baby just wasn't really forming, and the placenta wasn't forming. So something else went wrong along those lines as well, and that was very confusing but almost expected in a really strange way. I remember getting in the car feeling like my heart was sitting in the pit of my stomach again, but actually thinking to myself, I knew it, I knew something was wrong, and there was almost a relief in that as well. Sip time. So that was my partial molar pregnancy. Guys, a lot to go over. If you have any more questions, please ask me in the comments, okay? It's so weird to me that I had 2 very unusual, confusing miscarriages back to back. After that, the emotional process of trying to understand why that happened, really battling it out with God, trying to understand why I was going through that disappointment over and over. It was a hard season, and that took place around April. I must have been pregnant for 2 months, and then I remember just over summertime I went through that miscarriage. I do want to note though that I had both miscarriages at home, so where basically there's no doctor intervention. I didn't have a D&C or anything like that. I just had everything at home because I just wanted to allow my body to process it, to do it, and needed to do it at home. I was prescribed a medication from my midwife to kind of hasten the process of that second miscarriage, because I felt pissed. I remember messaging my midwife being like, I just want this thing out. I'm very upset and distraught and annoyed about this. I don't want to be pregnant now. Please just help me get this out. I don't want to have a D&C. I don't want to go and see a doctor, but can you help me? So she prescribed me a couple of pills that could help with that. I don't know the technical name for them. That miscarriage was significantly different to the first. I have described the blighted ovum because it's almost an 11-week pregnancy. That was very hard. But a partial molar pregnancy, all I can describe it to was having full-on cramps and bleeding for 2 days straight. I was in a lot of pain, and so I felt like the process took longer. So that was my second miscarriage. April to about June, I think. April, May, June. Yeah, I think I miscarried in June. And yeah, that was just a really dumb, like, season of life, and given on top of that all this COVID stuff is happening, my first instinct when something happens to me that hurts my heart is just to go back to my family. And being in another country, I can't do that. Like, I never think that I'm gonna get upset about this, but I always think about my family because they're my safe place, and I don't have that right now. And when you're going through heartbreak after heartbreak, I just wanted, like my mum, essentially, I wanted home, I wanted familiarity, and I don't have that right now. And to be honest, I don't know when I'm gonna have it, so thanks COVID. So that was even harder, just to have homesickness stacked on top of that. My husband and I were having trouble, and it was just like one thing after the other, just being pounded with these like struggles and battles of just trying to process grief and every other emotion that goes along with that. If you guys have lost somebody close to you, or you've experienced a miscarriage or anything like that, you can feel there's such a process to understanding, and sometimes you have to get to a place of being okay with not understanding. But for me, it was trying to get to that place of not understanding but being okay with that, and still choosing God, even though it makes no sense. And I know that God is always good, but there's always this thing in me that's like, no matter what, no matter the circumstances, I always have to choose and believe that God is good. So in order for me to do that, I had some resources that really just like changed my mind and changed my life, and I just feel like I've come out stronger because of it. And one of those is Maverick City Worship. Guys, I'm assuming if you're a believer, you've seen their worship, but it is actually like God encountering life-changing music, and it's so good. I would just spend so much time with the Lord, just like basking in those sounds. And Nerida Walker's God's Plan to Pregnancy, I would listen to her videos on YouTube, and then I read her book, and I was so inspired by it that I was sending it out to everybody that was having trouble trying to conceive, because I was like, guys, we got to get this in us because it is some good information. Man, this kind of blew my mind as well. It was awesome. I found this last, if I can find her video again, then I will link it in the description box. But she totally inspired me when she talked about thanking God for the things that you don't have, as in you're speaking them into existence. So she did that with her twins. She was expecting and praying for twins, thanking God for her twins, and she ended up having twins. And that just like blew my mind. And another thing she said was to create a vision board of your dreams. And at this point, from those two losses, especially with the first thinking I was having a girl, I decided to do that. So I created a vision board on my phone. Where is my phone? And of all the things that I kind of expected and I wanted out of this fourth pregnancy. So I want to encourage you guys, like if you're in this place, like it's a cool idea. So all my apps and stuff, but this was my vision board, and I've got a mom and a daughter here, a little baby girl, a cloth diaper, because I love cloth diapering, and I actually have this cloth diaper. This one is a little rainbow onesie, a picture of 3 boys and a girl, and a bouquet of flowers because I wanted a spring baby. I was believing for a spring baby. I kept this on my phone since I was going through that kind of grieving, getting closer to God season, and I haven't taken it off, because to me it's like this declaration of, this is what I want, this is what I'm believing for, and God, you're going to make it happen. So that was really inspiring as well, just to hear this place of praying out of expectancy and praying out of like the victory that it's already done, and it's not something I have to grovel for, and it's not something I have to beg God for, because it says, delight yourself in the Lord and He will give you the desires of your heart. And I'm just like, Lord, you have promised me the desires of my heart. The desire of my heart is to have a baby girl, so I know that you're going to make it happen. And guys, I'm just going to throw it out there, but it was so cool, because before we found out the gender of this baby, I said to my 8-year-old son Lincoln, I said, so Link, what do you think the baby is? Do you think it's a boy or a girl? And he said so confidently, and I never forget this, he said, it's a girl. And I said, why? I was kind of confused. I was like, why do you think it's a girl? And he said, because we prayed for a girl and God's going to give us a girl. And I was like, whoa, kid, like your faith is just kind of blowing me out of the water, because I'm going back and forth. Like I'm feeling anxiety, I'm feeling fearful, I'm feeling scared of all the things that could go wrong or could be wrong with this baby. and it's so awesome to hear it out of my 8-year-old's mouth, and I'm just like, that is a sweet reminder. I need to hold on to that. Taste of a crunchy bar takes me home. So leading into that, I want to talk about getting pregnant after recurrent miscarriages. Now, for me, I feel like I was told really clearly, stop trying. Stop taking the 20 supplements that you're taking, because I was gender swaying as well, so I was taking calcium and magnesium and all these different things that I believed was going to give me a girl. I must have been on about 10 supplements, like it was pretty out of control. And so I kind of felt like there was this thing in me that just had to stop, give it to God, not beg for it, but just believe that it was going to happen. So I ended up getting pregnant around August of 2021, and for some strange reason I was not nervous. I was watching the line progression on my pregnancy test get really dark from the morning to the evening. It got so much darker, because if you're like me and you're trying to get pregnant, you're testing very early, and it didn't take long and I started getting pregnancy symptoms. So funny. I did say this in one of my videos. I'll link it up here. I think it was talking about my gender reveal. I can't remember, with Easter. And I always, without fail, I get this complete beard of acne, and it is intense and it is sore, and just one after the other they just pop up, and it doesn't matter what I use topically, because I'm a stickler with my skincare routine as well. I really take care of my skin. Just a ton of acne. It's totally hormonal, and it only happens over pregnancy. So the acne was real, and I'm like, girl, something is going on, because I cannot get rid of this stuff. Only now at 22 weeks is it really starting to die down. So that was like one of the first indicators. I was starting to feel hungry. I was like, I'm ravenously hungry. It doesn't matter what I ate, and I just could not stop eating. I must have been eating every hour, every half an hour. But my nausea and my morning sickness was so manageable. I can say that with such a relief. It was so manageable compared to my boys. The nausea with my boys would literally stop my life. Any smell of anything bad would just send me running to the bathroom. If it was the trash, if it was cat food, if it was meat being cooked, it would make my stomach turn to the point of throwing up. With this baby girl, it has been so manageable, and it's been so good. And it was really one of the things that I was nervous about, having 3 other children to take care of, and especially a toddler. Tiredness just hit me hard, and I kind of put it down to just being pregnant and taking care of 3 other children. It is a lot on your body, physically, mentally. Just your energy levels are pretty drained just from having kids anyway. America doesn't do anything like crunchy bars, so, or if they do, I don't know about them. So while trying to like battle the mind game of getting through anxiety for this pregnancy, for this 3rd pregnancy in just 1 year, I also had notes of affirmation on my window. I still have them actually on my mirror, so I can see them every day. I'd put them in my bathroom as well, just like scripture. It was just a process of getting over the anxiety, but speaking truth over that mind as well, because it's all in your head, and it's really hard to just work past that. So when I did, and I scheduled a ultrasound at about 7-8 weeks, because I wanted to see that everything was okay. So the same woman that did my ultrasound with my blighted ovum, I went back to her, and she was great. I had my husband with me, because from my last experience I said, honey, I can't do this without you. I need support just in case something's not right. I need you to be there with me. And immediately I saw this little blob on the screen, and I just went, oh, I said, is that my baby? And I just started bawling my eyes out. Like, even now thinking about it gets me so overwhelmed, because I had been waiting so long just to see something on a screen, to know it, to confirm it, and it was like such a relief. And she said, yeah, that's the baby. And she said, let's take a listen to the heartbeat, and I recorded it and said, she's got a great heartbeat, very strong. It was one of the happiest moments in my life. Like, I was so relieved and so grateful and overwhelmed. It was such a sweet moment of remembering that minute of like knowing that the baby was alive and was good and healthy. So that is like the journey of getting pregnant after miscarriage. In terms of practical things that I did to to my body so that I could kind of prepare it. Over the first 2 miscarriages, I just kind of took everything for granted. I was drinking a lot of coffee. I wasn't drinking water. It was between coffee and alcohol, and I don't overdrink by any means, but in my mind it was like a glass of wine a night. I just tried to cut back on those things, and no alcohol at all, and I just had water and bone broth, because I actually really love the taste of chicken bone broth. It's really good and I still drink it today. So that was the journey of getting pregnant again. Those were practical things on top of all the spiritual things that I just kind of put into place and put in my life as well. So another thing that I wanted to talk about, which is kind of a bit of a taboo subject, I suppose, is gender disappointment. It has been a very real thing for me. It has been working through that process as much as it has been working through recurrent miscarriage. It's been something that's been close to my heart. Now I'm not afraid to say it. If you are dealing with the disappointment of maybe not getting the gender that you want, I feel ya. I totally understand it, and I don't have any judgment towards anybody that was hoping for a different gender. And it never ever changes the way that you feel about your kid. You never want your kids to be anything else. You love who they are. When I found out that Easton was a boy, I was heartbroken. And I look at him now and I freaking love the snot out of that kid. He is so adorable. He is just him, and he fits this family so perfectly, and I wouldn't have it any other way not having my sons. I adore all 3 of my boys. I love them. But from the get-go, from the moment that I fell pregnant, I knew and I thought in my head that I was gonna have a girl. It was like a no-brainer to me. I was like, I come from a long line of girls, not that genetics plays a part, I know that now, but I come from like 3 sisters, one brother, and my mum had come from 5 girls and 1 brother, and I just had it. I was like, I'm gonna have a girl, and I'm gonna keep having girls. Didn't happen, my first baby, and I was like, no, it's okay, it's my first baby, it's fine. Then finding out Hudson was a boy, it was a little bit shaky grounds. Again, I cried to my sister, and I was very upset about it, because I was like, it is wrong, I meant to have a girl, why is it not happening now? Trying to process that Easton was another boy was really hard, and I talked to a lot of moms who had 3 sons, and I was trying to pick apart the pros, and that was kind of a grieving process in itself, just to be like, why am I not having my daughter? I'm 6 years into having kids, and I'm not getting a daughter, and this is really hard on my heart. It was to the point where I couldn't watch Say Yes to the Dress without crying, because it would always be the moms going in with their daughters trying on wedding dresses, and I felt in my heart this sadness and this grieving that I was never going to get to do that. And I watched my own mom do that with me and my 2 other sisters, of being there throughout weddings and having babies, and it saddened me that I didn't think I was going to get that chance. 4 boys honestly would have been great. I could totally see my family, now that I'm such a boy mom, I could totally see myself with 4 boys. But man, here we are. Here we are, guys. I'm so excited. I hope to post more videos regarding the pregnancy on my baby girl. We have named her, we've claimed her. I'm already doing her nursery. Her nursery is already almost finished. I want to do a video on that soon. The pregnancy is going good. If anything, it's just brought a lot of tiredness, quite a lot of stress this time around. But now that I'm having a girl, I feel a little bit less stressed, I suppose, having 3 other kids to take care of. This is where we're at. I actually had somebody say to me, are you sure it's not twins? And I've had a couple of people say to me, are you sure you're 22 weeks? Like, that's way too big. And then I have to remind guys, this is my 6th pregnancy. My stomach and my whole body is well stretched to house another baby. If you guys have any questions or you want to know anything else about my journey, I hope that I cleared the videos up for you. I know everything's been a little bit confusing. I have posted this pregnancy on my Instagram about this rainbow baby. But again, if you're not on my Instagram, I encourage you to check it out. It's just really kind of everyday things with me and my boys, just kind of trying to enjoy life and navigating through parenthood, and just always being in a different country, having 4 children. Lord help me, having 4 kids, it's going to be a lot. But that's where I'm at, and I am really excited to share the journey with you guys. I do want to note, this is one thing that I do want to throw in there before I leave, that from about 10 weeks to 12 weeks, my husband and I got COVID. I had COVID first. It started with like a dry cough, and I kind of knew I wasn't feeling right. And so I took a home test, and sure enough, it was positive. I was very nervous when I found out I had COVID. I messaged my midwife straight away and I said, is this any cause for concern? She said, no, a lot of my girls have had COVID and they are fine and their babies are fine. She said, this is just what you need to do. The supplements you need to take, how to take care of yourself, ABC, blah, blah, blah. And I haven't been vaccinated. That's just a personal choice where I'm at right now. I choose not to be vaccinated. I got through COVID. It hit me hard because my immune system is pretty low just from carrying a baby, and then I had a pretty good touch of morning sickness on that 12th week. That was really hard. I was trying so hard to eat, but my body was just kind of rejecting everything, and I'm still kind of trying to get my iron back on track from that, because normally in pregnancy your iron levels get pretty low. COVID just like almost depleted them, so I was very weak for the next few weeks after COVID, so I've been working with my midwife to get on top of that. It really stopped our lives, but kind of in a needed way. It was like this weird moment of just being with one another and enjoying each other's company. A lot of movies, a lot of like taking care of one another. I felt like my husband was so helpful and he was just taking the best care of me. We had an awesome community around us dropping off meals, and I felt like it was a good time to just kind of reconnect with each other, and it was kind of actually sad when my husband went back to work. So thank you guys so much for watching. Again, any questions, you want to know anything, please leave it in the comments below. I'd love to connect with you. Please hit me up on Instagram. It's just been awesome laying out my heart to you guys. So thank you again, and please join me in my next video. Little pip.